You know, the young version of me, I would go to lakes and I would find an area and think, boy, I could always catch them somewhere around this area. This is great. And then I'd come back a year or two later and be different. What would be different more often than not would be the water levels would change. They might be 10 feet higher, it might be 10 feet lower. And if you live in southwest Texas, where we're based out of, and you fish lakes like Falcon and Amstead and Choke and many others in this area, it might be 20 and 40 foot different. Heck, it might be 80 feet difference in some cases. So I learned that through all that I needed to take advantage of low water conditions, not only because the fishing, was better because the fish had less water, but that eventually that water would come back and what I could see up on land would pay off for me later on. So on a recent trip, we ran down to Falcon. Falcon Lake and I have a history together that goes back a long way. I mean, I was shown how to fish it by some great fishermen many, many years ago. Good times out on the water. I have filmed some incredible shows down there, many trips down there, fished a lot of great tournaments down there, just had a lot of fun on it. This particular trip, the lake was really low and we were having to unload out on, really just on the beach. We had to unload off the side of the main point down by the dam. This is something that's been going on for years. I mean, I did it 30 years ago when the lake was this low. But you're backing out, you get unloaded, there's other people doing the same thing, and you kind of go, and I went down towards the dam on this particular trip. I wanted to go look at some things. I had never seen the lake this low, but I still wanted to do my best to try to figure out how to catch fish on this trip.
The Falcon Lake Dam. I've seen it low, but I don't think I've ever seen it this low. We're at 50 feet low right now. I've caught a lot of fish up there right at the dam in the past. A lot of people have caught a lot of fish right up there at the dam, but this is the Rio Grande River where it goes out and down. The water's used for irrigation further south, and that's one of the challenges with this body of water is it goes up and down like somebody takes water out of their bathtub.
Low water to me is something that I've really learned to embrace and dream about the floods actually when they'll come down the road. Lakes like Falcon and Amstead that we fish on a lot, the water, it's more often than not, it's continually followed. Those bodies of water were built for irrigation. They weren't built for me, the bass fisherman. They weren't built for all of us that are bass fishing. They were built to hold water, to let it out so they irrigate, fields eventually in most situations, or be provided for drinking water. When we don't get rain for long periods of time and they're pulling water out, I mean, it's almost depressing in a lot of these situations. Lakes get super low, the quality of the water can turn, boat ramps get closed. In fact, some lakes, all the ramps are closed.
I mean, there's all kinds of stuff right out there in front of us in that brush pile.
We all want to know why that fish was there and what he was doing and how he reacted, but before forward-facing sonar, we didn't even realize a lot of things that were out there. Now, we've got a whole new area that teaches us and shows us things of what fish do that we never even knew.
That was a good one. You're gonna lose some. That's just part of fishing. I have thrown for about an hour and a half, hadn't got a bite, found a little brush pile off the little drop off down here by the dam. Had thrown 2 or 3 other baits in there. Finally got a thumper of a bite. And that's what'll happen down here. You'll get some big ones. That was a good one. I just thrown a leg shaker out there with a plum colored worm. He thought it was a ribeye. I tried to serve it to him. He won.
It's time for our first break in the show. When we return to this episode of the Bass Pro Shops Fisherman's Handbook, we continue to talk fishing in low water conditions at Falcon Lake in South Texas.
Decent one. 2-pounder. All of them are decent, right?
Don't go away. To see more great content and take your fishing skills to the next level, subscribe to the Fisherman's Handbook YouTube channel. Here you'll find how-to videos, product features, and in-depth breakdowns that'll help you catch more fish. Just scan the QR code on the screen now and subscribe.
Got him. This feels like a pretty good one too. Maybe not, don't know. Coming our way. I still don't know how big he is. I don't think it's that big. Oh, 2-pounder and he got away. He posed for the camera though. He showed off. Gentry got him, so he counts. I'm gonna count him. That's 2 I've lost here. First one was a good one, 4 or 5-pounder. Gotta feed it to them a little bit sometimes in the summer when you throw these big worms. When you come down to Falcon and you get a bite, you're thinking, God, it's gonna be a 5-pounder, a 6-pounder, a 7-pounder or more, and that's part of the allure of coming down here. And we've certainly done it a lot of times, but you also can get into a lot of fish of that size. You know, that 1.5, 2-pounder, running down the bank, throwing various baits. Right now, we're just kind of down here by the dam. We're dragging a big worm on a lead shaker. We've had a couple of bites. Every one of them could be a 10-pounder or they could be a 2-pounder. We're just gonna see what we can do in the wind.
When a lake goes up and down, a lot of those situations, you've got new nutrients coming into the water because all that vegetation that's growing up. You've got great cover for the bait fish, incredible spawning habitat. Frankly, you can't get to the bank in a lot of situations when some of these lakes go up like that. Then I look at the places like Kentucky Lake. You know, they draw those lakes down every year, 4, 5, 6 feet, and then they let it fill back up. You know, they've got a river that works and they get rain in that area. As a fisherman, man, what a great way to learn the cover, learn the nuances, learn different things there, and learn how to run key areas, because it's a constant ebb and flow when we start dealing with fishing low water lakes.
This is a great example of something that would normally be under the water, but right now is exposed because this lake is so low. And this could play on any lake anywhere in the United States. This is down by the Falcon Dam, and you can see this big long vein of rocks here, surrounded on both sides by dirt and some brush. The brush would be in the water once again if the water was high, but it's not. So understanding how this point lays out, what it looks like with the water low, and then coming back and fishing it with the water high gives you a great understanding of why fish would be here, where they would set up. You can see the deep side on the right side on the way I'm looking at it, and the left side's more of a just kind of a slope, bigger rocks on the right, more of a drop off. So looking at that, getting a mental picture, marking it on your GPS, it just gives you confidence that when the water comes high, it'd be a great place to go drag a lead shaker, throw a Carolina rig, rip a crankbait down it, whatever, because if the fish was there, that's the best cover for a long way around. Got him. Boy, I had let that one eat it a couple of times. Decent one. 2-pounder. All of them are decent, right? I wasn't even sure that was a bite at first. I got him twice. The other 2 I didn't get at all. Little lead shaker was dragging a worm through there. The head on that, you really can feel those rocks. And I was just bouncing around. I hit a rock, and then I felt the tap tap. The tap tap was him. I had to let him sit there and chew on it a little bit because the last couple I didn't. It's just a big old vein of rock coming off the dam. You know, with the water being so low, it really shows stuff that we've caught fish on in the past. You know, Falcon really is kind of flat with a lot of, you can see it, you know, I mean, if we had 20, 30 more feet of water, it would be way up in the bushes. We wouldn't be fishing this stuff probably. But when it's down like this, you can key on these rocks as an idea where they should be. That fish was probably only about 10 feet deep. I'm sitting out here in 13, but I'm still hitting random rocks. Hopefully we can hit a random rock with a giant sip on it. Let him eat on it a couple times before we set the hook. Give Gentry time to get back in focus, out of focus, and then in focus when I set the hook. That's a good one.
We've reached another break in the show. Coming up next on the Bass Pro Shops Fisherman's Handbook, we show you how your Garmin electronics can be a great tool for fishing in low water conditions.
GPS is more important than ever. The problem is, if it's 20 feet low, your contours are in the wrong place. That is, unless you've got a Garmin.
Keep it tuned here for more.
Low water bass fishing, you get, obviously the first thing to think about is safety. There's so many forums and different things now that you can get online and study and learn about what a lake is doing and look at what other people are saying, understanding what boat ramps are open. I always encourage people to use those kinds of things. But your dynamic lake level that allows you, through your Garmin cartography to be able to go in and type the water level at that exact depth, it's a crucial feature, very key feature. And you can get that data online of what the lake level is at that time. Now always keep in mind this is a general reference. This isn't going to be the rule every time, but it's going to be close for you. What I do is I'll put that lake level in and then I color code, and I do it the same color all the time. I'm a red, yellow, green guy for my shallow water markings. That will allow me to, at a moment's glance, get a sense of what's there. Now once again, it's not always going to be 100% accurate, but it's going to be close enough to give you an idea where you can find some fish, where you're going to find some key areas, and kind of clue you in when you're just running down a lake that, boy, I might want to look at this point or this creek or look how things line out there.
If you're fishing a lake that's 10 feet low, 20 feet low, 30 feet low, GPS is more important than ever. The problem is, if it's 20 feet low, your contours are in the wrong place. That is, unless you've got a Garmin. Because look what I can do here. I can just bring up my bottom bar, I can hit my 3 dots, I can go to layers, I can go to water, and down here it's lake level. Now my lake level offset right now is 0 feet. I'm going to click on that. So let's say I'm fishing a lake that's 12.5 feet low, okay? I'm going to hit minus 0, 1, 2, 5. Now I'm set for 12.5 feet low. Okay, now it brings it back up, and look at this when I zoom in here. Now see this this kind of a beige shaded area? That's telling you there should be water there, but it's not. And now it's changed my contours, my 5, 10, 15 out to match the current depth range. So it's a really valuable feature so that you can actually see what's there when the lake's low, and where there's not water when there should be water. It'll also work. Let's say I'm fishing a lake that's 6 feet high. Up 6 feet. All right. Now, it's gonna adjust those contours for being 6 foot high as well. All right. So whatever your lake level is, you can adjust it and know for certain that your contours and your depth are actually right because you've adjusted it for the current lake level.
As a bass fisherman, I love a lot of the situations that happen when a lake gets low. It gives me an opportunity to study why fish were in certain areas, to see things that I never have seen before, use my electronics in a different manner to almost like dreaming about Christmas ahead. I can say, well, look at that rock pile there. Let's get a waypoint on it. We didn't even know it was there. We can ease our boat up. We can mark a spot, might be a group of trees, we can mark it, and then eventually we're going to have a flood and we can come back to go do that. But you also have to understand why and how to mark that so you can remember exactly what it was.
GPS is such an important tool in today's fishing. A lot of times it gets overlooked. I just want to show you, make sure you know how to do one of the simplest things. That's how I take a waypoint on my Garmin units. 2 things I want to show you. Number 1 is I can go here, I bring up my menu bar across the bottom and just hit mark. That's going to save the current location of where my boat is right now. There is actually, you can't see it because it's behind my boat icon. You can see the little number 003 if I zoom way in. There's a waypoint now sitting right on top of where my boat is. If I moved out of the way, you'd see it. Let me show you the second way. So let's say I'm scanning around on my map, and let's say I really like the way that point looks right there, okay? And let's say I want to go fish at that point. I can just tap that spot, and I can come up here to the top bar and hit waypoint. Look at there, it now just saved me a waypoint right there on that spot. Now something else really cool, this is why you need to have your units networked together, is it also saved that waypoint on my other units, my front ones, and right here as well. So any work that I do on one unit is also saved on the other. Now let's say that maybe I've been idle around when I took that waypoint, maybe it's a brush pile. I can tap on that, I can go to its waypoint number 4, and I can change the symbol, all right? I can find whatever symbol I like. There's a good brush pile symbol right there. Okay, so I'm gonna just select that brush pile symbol. I'm gonna go back. Now, if you see right there, I've got a really nice little brush pile symbol on that spot, so it's easy for me to remember what it is. You've got a lot of symbols to choose from, everything from aquatic vegetation to rock pile, danger signs, whatever you need to mark. But I always like to set references and set my symbol so that I remember exactly what that spot is. Because it may be 2 or 3 years before I come back to this lake. When I do, I want to remember why I took that waypoint right there, exactly what is that particular object. So take your waypoints, change your symbols, and it'll help you be much more efficient on the water.
You know, one of the neat things about coming to a lake that's real low that you've fished at various times is you get to see things that you've caught fish on and kind of analyze them. And I mean, I've caught fish on top of this before where it kind of drops off, and I kind of see now, you know, these fish were probably hanging right here feeding on these bluffs, but I didn't really know what was under there. Now I do. And when I come back here when the water's high, it gives you an idea this is really just a big bluff end. And so now I've got a visual picture next time I come in here and the water, you know, comes up. Because almost all these bodies of water will, you know, I mean, I've actually seen this lake 20 feet high where Canyon Lake flooded. It flooded all down Guadalupe and all the way, you know, Dunlap and McQueenie were flooded and houses. So I know eventually it's just reality, it's going to happen again, and you kind of know where the fish should go in those situations. So cool, so cool. I mean, I'm on the Guadalupe River channel where it swings in here at Canyon Lake, and there's lots of big trees that, you know, the lake's really low right now, so you can actually see all these trees above ground or above the water level, and I kind of figured I could ease down here and maybe catch a couple on top water. You know, things to remember about a low water lake, eventually it's going to come back, and you know, it's a good time to mark your waypoints, to really look at how structure lays out. All of that vegetation that's growing up on the bank, it's going to bring new nutrients into the water, and I think that's one of the reasons like Falcon and Choke and Amstead, a lot of the lakes down in South Texas have been so good for so long. They go down and a lot of stuff grows up. I mean, if Choke ever catches a ton of water, it's gonna be a brand new lake. Same situation for Falcon. When they flood, you know, it becomes vast acres of brush, and we can't get through most of that brush for several years. And then when we finally can, or the lake drops back down again, those bass are gonna come out of there with eyeballs like that. And that's a cool thing, because we basically have the birth of a new lake every time that happens. So yeah, you go through some bad times when a lake's low, but you can still catch fish. You just got to improvise, you got to adjust, and you know, when you dream about the day that they're going to fill back up, and actually I dream about the day 3 or 4 years from after they fill up of what's going to happen, because I've seen it so many times and how great it can be. High water, recently flooded, you can get back in here with a bait like this and catch you some shallow water good ones.
That'll conclude this episode of the Bass Pro Shop's Fisherman's Handbook. Thanks for watching. and we'll see you next time. This has been a Carico TV production.